Hello, and welcome to Hoisting the Sails of Data Analysis, a voyage through Google Looker Studio. My name is Colleen Graham, and I am an educational technology specialist for Wayne County Public Schools. I've got a QR code or a bit.ly link here for you to grab your own copy of the presentation so you can click the links and have all the resources and materials. That bit.ly/NC Bold data will be on every slide, so no hurries if you don't already have it. But let's get started with our learning to use Looker Studio. We will start first with our alignment to the digital learning competencies. Looker Studio equips teachers to analyze data and translate it into actionable insights that inform instruction and personalized learning experiences for students. So it's able to hit on all of these ISTE standards. Looker Studio empowers leaders to make data-driven decisions that support continuous improvement and ensure all students are on track to achieve their learning goals, thereby easily hitting all of these standards. By utilizing Looker Studio, coaches can collaborate with educators to develop data dashboards that promote student reflection and guide personalized learning strategies, hitting these ISTE standards for coaching. And finally, Looker Studio can be a powerful tool for students to use. They can develop their critical thinking and data analysis skills, and it allows them to explore information and communicate findings in a visually engaging way, thereby hitting on all of these ISTE standards for students. The purpose of today's session is just to demystify the process of data collection and analysis and empower you to create your own interactive dashboards. These dashboards can serve as compasses, guiding your instructional strategies and fostering a data-informed classroom environment. Our intended outcomes today will be that you will be able to create your very own simple data dashboard and have the ability to then use these tools to create something with your own data sources that you will be able to use this year in school. So let's get started hoisting the sails of data analysis. And don't forget to Twixt. I don't know what they call it now that Twitter is X, but we're just going to call it a Twixt today. If you click on this image here at any time, it will open a Twitter draft that you can edit or add a picture to or just share it as it is, and we can connect on social media, and I would love to connect with you. So let's get started with some examples of use and see how are some ways that Google Looker Studio can even be used and give you an idea of what this can do. So it all started in Wayne County with media advocacy. I had seen on Facebook where somebody had shared to the NC Slamma Facebook page where James Allen was training his media coordinators in Kentucky, where he's their Department of Education person over the libraries. He was teaching them how to do this for media advocacy. And this is just a very simple one here. The media coordinators create a Google form that has the data on it or asks for the data that they want to collect to kind of give a fuller picture of what they're doing in their media centers and what happens, so that they can advocate for their positions and for budgets and for media use and all this sort of thing. So this one's just simple. It's got books circulated, student visits, class visits, tech tickets, books added, and books weeded. Here, students have used it. They went out and polled their friends and about their social media use, and they compiled the data. This one's kind of interesting. They were collecting the data on the International Space Station to find out which spacesuits they used in the majority of their spacewalks. So they were compiling that data. Oh, and I should tell you, all of these images are hyperlinked in the slide deck, so you can click on them and see the full thing. I also link to these again at the end, so you can see them and check them out later if you'd rather stick with me right now. This is a piece of a behavior report. They were tracking student behavior data, looking for trends and things. Over here, this is a student profile, so we can see their math growth. And this was like just the little top box on a page. So there was a lot more to this. This one is probably my favorite one, though. And I do come from a library, so that's my background. Here, it starts with the student. The student gets the Google form where when they finish reading a book, they record it. Title, author, genre. And at some point, they're rating them. So that must be on the form too, but it's not showing on this. So every student has a page like this. As they complete the form, it gives them their own page, and the student can see their page. They can't see anybody else's page. So this is Lana, and Lana is in Mrs. McClure's class. You can see her right there at the tippy top. So Lana is her top reader, but all of her students are listed here. So you can see what all of them are reading, and the teacher would be able to see all of their pages. But here's their list of books, and if they're broken down by genre. So her class has read 82 books when you put all of the kids together. And then the media coordinator would then have this page, which is compiled by all of the students in all of the school put together. So it's broken down, books read by grade, books read by genre, our most read authors, our most read books. And this is how we know they were ranking them, because they've got their top rated books here. So she can see it all. The teacher would see her class page and her individual students' pages, and then the students see just their own. But all of the data is compiled when the student fills out that simple 1, 2, 3 question form. So I love that students are the ones who are doing the work. So charting the course, we are going to start by completing this form. If you will scan that QR code or click that link, it will open a Google form that will ask you a whopping 4 questions. And you can pause while you fill that out. And when you come back, if you click this link, it will take you to the actual Looker Studio results. Whoops. You trying to click on my stuff's on top of each other. The Looker Studio results are right here. At this point in time, I am the only person who has completed it. I put data in when I made my form, and then I put data in a second time to test to make sure it was working on here. But as you guys add information, you can come over here to the little snowman button beside edit and click refresh data, and it will update all of that information to include your results as well. All right, so moving back to our presentation, we're going to talk about the tools of the trade to get started making one of these. So these are the tools we're going to use today just to keep it simple and have us all doing it the same way. We're going to create a simple Google form, which will then link to a Google Sheet, and then we will link that sheet as a data source to Looker Studio. Just to be clear, you do not have to do it this way in your classroom. If you already have data in a spreadsheet, you can use that. If you use Freckle or Star or anything like that for your data, you can download the CSV files and upload those to Looker Studio to use that. We're just going to do it this way today so that we're all on the same page and we're not all trying to work with different data sources as we're learning. It's just for the sake of explaining it and to get you using the tools. This is also a great way to use it with your students. So we're going to start with a Google form, and you can just open a new tab and type forms.new to create one. You can also click this link here where it says walkthrough. That will open up another page for you that looks like this. and we'll walk you step by step. If that's easier than listening to me, I'm going to walk you through this all in just a minute too. But you can have that as a reference as well. Let's see, some things to keep in mind. Think about your data and how you can create your questions to have room for the kind of response that you want. Keep it simple. If this is something like with our library one that you're going to update regularly, you don't want it to feel like an extra job. So keeping it simple is helpful. Try to avoid the word date in your form or week or time. Looker Studio will think that you're trying to do something with dates and you'll have to manually go in and fix it. So for example, we don't want to say how many tech tickets were submitted this week, just how many tech tickets were submitted, how many Chromebooks were brought to the library for troubleshooting. If you're doing a STEM challenge, how far did your car go? How fast, whatever it is that you're trying to measure and record. We want to make sure we give it a name and that it's well organized. And then we'll go back to this later. All right, so let's go back to our form. There's my other tab. I just did this. I made an NC Bowl demo, and then my dog started barking, and I had to start over again. But if you go to forms.new, just like that, it makes a brand new Google form, and you can put, 3 or 4 questions in there. I just called mine NC Bowl demo. I typed in, how many miles did you travel to get here? Is this your first NC Bowl experience? Yes or no? How many years have you been in education? And do you use AI with your students? Okay, so those are my 4 questions. Nothing that's difficult. One thing I want to point out is that I unrequired them. Required is usually toggled on. If you go through and shut that off, you'll save yourself headaches in the long run. That way the questions don't have to be answered, especially if you're tracking data. We'll go back to the library one, for example. If you're tracking your data every week, but you're not adding books or necessarily weeding books every week, having all those zeros in there could skew your data. So we want to leave those out and just not answer them on the weeks that they don't apply. So by not having your questions required, you can skip them anytime you need to. Once you have filled out your form, if you click the preview button, you can complete your form and submit it and have answers. So go ahead and do that. And again, pause at any time that you need to. Once you've got at least one set of answers in there, we're going to go, close that, up here where it says questions, responses, and setting. If you go to the responses tab, right here, it'll say link in sheets. We want to make sure that it has a title here so that when you link to sheets, it'll have that same title there. So mine is titled NC Bowl Demo Responses, and I'd already clicked the link, sorry. And you can see I did mine 4 times because I went through it and it was showing how the data changes when I recorded this the first time before the 7 dogs that I am babysitting all went ballistic. So you can see my data, and Google does automatically give you nice little pie charts and graphs and stuff, but NC Bold is just so, or NC Bold, Looker Studio is just takes it all further and does a better job of it. All right, so once we do that, then we're going to open a new tab, and we're just going to type in lookerstudio.google.com. Again, it's a Google product. And your page should look something like this. If you've never used it before, it will ask you for permission. But it doesn't seem to do it always at the same time. um, so it is a Google product. It's already part of your Google account, so it is safe to go ahead and accept everything. It just doesn't consistently trigger, so some people will get further along than others before it starts asking, but just so you know, it's coming eventually. And sometimes it does go into a loop. If you accept the permissions and it keeps asking you, then you might need to either refresh that tab, or you might even need to close that tab and reopen Looker Studio. But it just every once in a while gets stuck in a loop there. But to get started, then we're going to click this one, blank report, that little plus sign. And then we want to link to our data source. We just created a Google Sheet, so we're going to click Google Sheet. And then the one that you just created should be at the top. So you'll click NC Bold Demo is mine. So whatever you titled yours would be right there. You do have other options. So things that are owned by me, shared with me, starred URL, or you can open from Google Drive if you need to upload something from your Google, if it's not necessarily yours or in your drive. And then we click add over here. If you haven't already given permissions, you should by now. We'll all have this table, this pull up, this little menu. And we just want to click add to report. It gives you this fancy little box over here that we don't need. So we can start right off by deleting that. Just click it and click delete, or you can right click it, or you can go up here to file, edit, delete. Well, it's not there anymore, but it would have been. So it's gone. And then I like to set mine up. So if you come over here under this view button, there's theme and layout. So we can go there. You can customize your theme or use one of theirs. And then layout. I like to change my aspect. Like right now it's on a 4x3 letter sized landscape page. I like to change mine to the 16:9 portrait because, or not portrait, sorry, landscape, because that's what most laptop screens are set to right now. So we do that. And then if you wanted to change your theme, you can, or you can just X out of that and you are good to go. Now, we've got some buttons up here. If you wanted to give it a title or add an image, you can. Now, Looker Studio will let you do images and icons and text and things, but you don't have a whole lot of choices, and it's kind of clunky. It's not going to be very pretty. So I like to use Canva. So we're going to come back to this image button in just a minute. But first we are going to look at our, well, no, let's go to Canva first. All right, so going back to our presentation, if you have not already signed up for your free Canva Educator account, you can click this link to do so. It does take some time for them to verify your account and give it to you. But then once you have it, you'll have the Pro with all of the Pro features, and you can have your own classroom and all of that sort of thing. We are going to go over here where it says Canva template on anchoring the knowledge. And if you click that, it's going to open a whole set of Canva templates for you, which I think I already have open actually. I do. So it will tell you that it will ask you if you want to make a copy, and you do, or use the template. And when you do, that's making a copy. So you can make all of the changes you want, and it doesn't change anything for anybody else. It's your own copy of it. And one thing you'll notice is a lot of these say mind maps just because they are really great graphic organizers. They're already set up that way. So they're a great way to get started quickly, is to find mind maps and graphic organizers. But just find one. This one's for a fundraiser, for example. Lots of different ones. This is the one we just used when we presented at ISTE. But just find one that you want to use and make your changes to it. I made another one. I like to go down here and find a photo and just search for whatever. I put in North Carolina and picked a picture. I put a box over it and adjusted the transparency of it, and I added some shapes and some text and made mine that way. Once you're ready, you're going to download it. So you'll click share, go to download, and download as a PNG. But these are already set up as 16 by 9, so that size that came up on there is correct, that 1920 by 1080. So you don't have to worry about that, but go ahead and just make one of these for the sake of time. Unless you want to pause and make one of your own, that's fine. And when you're ready, come on back to me. And I will show you what to do in Looker Studio. So we'll go back to our Looker Studio now. And we come over here to the image file. And we click that. That's the picture with the, it looks like a picture with little mountains, kind of like the picture I chose from a background. And then we're going to click Upload from Computer. And I've got my NC Bold demo. So I'm going to click that and open it. And it comes out really small, but that is not a problem. We just stick it right there in the corner and we drag it. Whoops. Stupid thing. Come on. Drag it. And it gets bigger for us. And we just drag it corner to corner and it fits perfectly. So now I have that. And then we've got our data over here. So we're going to go up here and we'll click Add a Chart. And our first box here was for miles traveled. If I had not given it titles in Canva, I could do it here as well. Click this A, that's your text box. Just makes a text box and you can draw and put it wherever and you can write your text and you can change your fonts and your size and all that sort of thing. You just don't have as many options when you do it here as you do when you do it in Canva. All right, so back to our data. I'm going to come up here and we're going to click Add a Chart. So for miles traveled, I want to use a scorecard for that. Scorecards are great when you want a number value and you just drag it, make it the size that you want it to be. And now mine says record count 4. That tells me I need to change some things over here because none of my answers involve the number 4, I don't think. So over here, my metric under setup says record count. I don't want that. I want my metric to be how many miles did you travel? And it's set to sum. I want to change that. I want to make that the average. So I'm going to change that here. And you just click off of it when you have it the way you want it. So I'd rather have it be the average. Now, up here where it says setup, I can come over here to style and I can do a little more changing with this. I've got my title to my question there and I don't want that. So I'm going to click this, hide metric name, which makes that go away. I'm going to change my font to Quicksand. And I want it to be centered in the middle of that box. So I'm going to click this. You can click, whoops, you don't need, I don't have other things. So I'm going to click that. And then up here for our size, 28 is the biggest that it gets. Oh no, it doesn't. It goes to 96. But I want it bigger. So I'm just going to click auto, and it's going to auto fill to that size of the box. As my number gets bigger, the font will get smaller automatically. All right. So that works for that. A scorecard, we can do it again for this one, years of teaching. So I'm going to drag it, put it down there, go to setup, and it's on, my metric is on record count again. I don't want that. So I want this one. How many years have you been in education? And it made it a sum. I can make it an average or a median. Let's go ahead and let's leave this one as a sum. We'll get the sum total of how many years of experience you guys all have together. So that's a sum. And then I'm going to go back over here to style. So I click this tab. And again, I'm going to center my metric just because I like to. I'm going to change my font. I'm going to change my size to auto. And there's my question showing up again. So I'm going to hide metric name. All right. Now I've got your first NC bold. That was a yes, no question. So I'm going to add a different kind of chart today. If you come up here to add a chart, let's make that one a pie chart. And again, you draw it in to the size you want. You can move the box around. Let's see, I could probably make it a little bit bigger. Oops, move my background. It's probably, well, that's probably good enough. Make it a little bigger, then you can't read it. All right, move it over there. All right, so is this your first NC bold? That's my dimension. My metric down here, though, is how many miles did you travel? We don't want that. So we want this to be, again, is this your first NC bold? And then this one, your sort, is this your first NC bold? Now this CTD stands for count distinct, and it's going to tell you how many yes, you know, that it's counting your yeses and yes or no. We don't want that. We just want a regular count. So we need to change that to count on both of these, and just changing it once did it. So that's all set. And then up here, AI with students, let's do a bar chart this time. So I'm going to draw a bar chart in on this one. And it's thinking about it. You can see the little line here. I don't know why it's being so slow today, just because we're recording and we're pressed for time. It's still thinking, but while it's doing that, we're going to go ahead and change our stuff over here. We're not asking about this being your first NC Bold anymore. We are asking about AI with your students, so we're going to change that. And then our metric is asking how many years have you been in education? We don't want that. We want, do you use AI with your students? And it didn't overlap. It took the other one away. All right, so do you use AI with your students? We're going to change that again to count, not count distinct. And there you go. Everything should be working. So from the data I had put in, I already had 4 responses. It's compiling this data to give us our answers. And let's try it again. And hopefully we will see it change. So if I go back over here and go to a little eyeball, How many miles did you travel to get here? Let's say we traveled 12. And yes, this is my first NC Bold. I have been in education, we'll say 3 years. And yes, I use AI with my students. So I'm going to submit those answers. Now I have another set of answers on my sheet. And when I go to my Looker Studio, I can click this to refresh my data. And everything's changed now. Isn't that cool? So, going back over to our presentation, what have I not talked about? Because I kind of skipped around a little bit, I feel like. Make sure your Google Sheet is named appropriately. If you set up your Google form carefully, your data should be organized in your sheet for you to be able to find it easily. You saw how they were broken down on the menu on the left or the right to drag over there. Share permissions when asked. You can use multiple data sources. It doesn't all have to come from the same sheet. You can move it around. Let's see. Did that. We talked about the 16:9. That's the 1920 by 1080. All right, so links. These are the Canva templates you use. These are some Looker Studio templates. You saw a lot of those already. A lot of this stuff repeats. I put it in more than one place. There's a Looker Studio gallery here that you can pull from. There's a tutorial on putting together a 40-book challenge. This one's really cool. The Durham Public School System uses Looker Studio for a pacing guide. You can pick any week during the school year and it will tell you exactly what it is that you should be teaching in your classroom. This is Heidi Barber's step-by-step mini webinar that she made for Molly Holloman's newsletter. Again, it all began with James Allen from Kentucky and his tutorial. This is a link to his 2023 AASL presentation on the same thing. Again, not very many slides, but a lot of links. We've got a couple of videos here and a quick start guide from the Help Center. Again, some more, they're the same links, I think, broken down from over there. This is another good one, unapproved and approved tool finder. These are great for school systems as they're vetting websites as to whether or not they want to unlock them. And remember again today, we used a Google form just to keep it simple today, but you can upload your own CSV data source. Don't forget to Twixt. I would love to connect with you. And if you need any help, send out an SOS, reach out, and I am happy to help. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have any questions, feel free to email or reach out on social media. And Heidi and I have been known to hop in the car and drive to other districts to help them with this. So give us a call. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.